Tracy Lawanda. Thank you so very much for tuning in today. The topic of discussion is 3 reasons why relationships end. Three. Tres. Three. 3 reasons why relationships end. You may have been in a relationship for some time, and it may not have been for some time, but you feel in your spirit and you know without a shadow of a doubt that it's about to end. And these are the 3 reasons why relationships end. The first one is communication issues. That is the number one reason why some relationships don't last, because it's a lack of communication. I mean, you could be in the same household with the individual and there is no line of communication. The only thing that you say to one another is in passing, hi and good night or bye. And that's about it. You're not talking about anything on a political level. You're not talking about anything on a relationship level. You're not talking about anything on a media level. There's just no type of communication. And it's very hard to be in a relationship where communication is lacking, because in any type of relationship, it takes communication. Just like when you're in a courtroom, the plaintiff, the DA, the judge, the lawyer, the bailiff, everybody is communicating. Everyone is talking. The bailiff is telling everyone, the rules and the regulations of being in the courtroom. If he finds anyone do anything out of pocket, he will, address the issue at hand. If they got their cell phone out, he's going to say, you know what? Put the cell phone back in. There's no cell phones allowed. Didn't I tell you that in the beginning, that you're not allowed to have no cell phones out? You can't be taking pictures of what's going on in the courtroom while it's presiding. You can't do none of that. So let's say that the bailiff is not saying anything to the people and he's allowing them just to do whatever they want to do. That's a lack of communication. That's going to cause some kind of issues to occur because there's no line of communication. If the lawyer and the judge are not communicating, how are they going to be able to listen to the case? How they're going to be able to judge the case according to what's at hand if there's no communication? So communication is very important. And it's very important in a relationship between a man and a woman. You have to have some sort of line of communication. That is priority. That is needed. That is what keeps a relationship together, is when you can communicate with one another. So that will end a relationship. The relationship won't last if, for one, there is a lack of communication. The next one, number 2, the lack of compatibility. When you just simply grow apart, at the beginning, everybody put their best foot forward in the beginning of a relationship. You talk a certain way, you act a certain way, you do things a certain way. Like, I remember my grandmother, my mom's mother, and she had shared with me, she was a funny lady. I miss her so much. She had shared with me that when my step grandpa would come over, before he became my step grandpa, he would come over and then they would be watching a movie or talking and yada, yada, yada. And she said that she would have to pass gas, right? Or, or pooped or whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? But she said she would hold it in. She just didn't want to pass gas, on their courtship, while they were getting to know one another. So she would hold her poot in, or she would say, excuse me, I have to go to the restroom, but she never would poot or fart or whatever you want to call it in front of him. But as they began to get to know one another, as they came to a point where they started to live together, she said, girl, shoot,
If I felt the poop coming out, I just let it out freely. I just pooped. I don't care. He was right there. I'm passing by and I put it in his face. I don't care. Again, it's going to say that she was putting her best foot forward. You know what I'm saying? She wouldn't do it when they were courting one another. But once they started to live together and take it to another level, she felt free to be able to just let herself be, And so in the relationships we can lose that compatibility. We can outgrow one another. What we used to like about an individual when we first started to date them, or in the beginning when we put in our best foot forward, we were compatible. You know what I'm saying? We can relate to one another. You know what I'm saying? Things that the other person didn't bother us. Um, but didn't bother us in the beginning, right? Because everything was new. Anytime something's new, you're good with it, right? Um, but as time goes on, things just really change. And so you outgrow a person. You're no longer compatible with that individual. That's number two of three reasons why relationships end. The last one is you fall out of love. You know, that old saying that I'm in love with an individual, but I'm not in love with them, if that makes any sense. You may love them because they're your baby mama, your baby daddy, but you're not in love with them, but you love them because of them being your baby mama or your baby daddy, right? Um, you just fall out of love, and that's okay. It happens. I wish that love can grow stronger, which in some relationships it does. It grows stronger, right? You grow deeply in love with the individual, right? But then there comes a time in a relationship where you fall out of love with the person and you no longer love them like you did in the beginning. It's like it happens to the best of us, right? You may love them for who they are, but not be in love with them. And it happens. And you have to be able to let it go. Like a TKO, like a technical knockout. Just let it go. It's okay. So those are three reasons why people fall out of relationships, why relationships end. The lack of communication, the lack of compatibility, and when you're no longer in love with that individual. And it's okay. It's okay. And I feel too that, especially as women, I'm speaking to us women right now, many times when we get out of a relationship, we jump right back into another relationship. And that's not good. There are some of us who just don't want to be alone. But we have to come to a point in our lives where we say to ourselves, it's okay to be alone. Because there comes a time when you get out of a relationship where you really need to do a lot of soul searching. You got to search yourself within, because when you get out of a relationship, we tend to lose ourselves. We lose ourselves not outwardly, but inwardly. And that's where we have to take out the time to self-discover, to self-love, to self-medicate ourselves, not on actual medication, mind you, but on meditation, on looking and seeking for our spirituality, on making sure that we're mentally together. Um, we just have to take the time out for us, ladies. Don't just jump from one relationship into another relationship, because what happens is if we haven't taken care of ourselves, done some self-care, we're going to take all of that emotional baggage, emotional pain, emotional hurt with us into our next relationship. And we don't want to do that, because what's going to happen is that relationship is not going to last, because we're taking with us old baggage into a new relationship. So, just do a lot of soul searching. Do a lot of spirituality searching. Do a lot of mental searching. Search deep within the core of your being to discover what it is that's in you that is hurting, that is wounded, and that is broken. And I'm reminded of what God has told us in His Word. He says He's a mender of the brokenhearted. So those that are brokenhearted in the heart, in their spirit, in their soul, He will mend it together. I am reminded of what God has told us in His Word, that He will heal all wounds, all open wounds, all of the pain. He'll heal it. But He does everything in decency and in order. And He does everything on His time. But we just have to trust Him, that He knows what is best for us. So that's what I wanted to share with you all. Thank you so much for taking out the time to listen to 3 reasons why relationships end. I have been your host, Tracy Lawanda, and this is a Word for You Productions. And I'm just so very thankful for what God is doing in my life in this season for His reason, His purpose, and His will. All right, you guys, I will talk to you soon with another topic. And until then, praise our Abba Father in the good times of our lives as well as the bad times. Worship Him in spirit and in truth. And remember to pray, because there's power in prayer. Pray without ceasing. Agape and shalom. Bye, everybody. Talk to you soon.